Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. My name is George and welcome to the Floor It YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about a buyer's guide to the E9X M3. That's the E92, 93 and the E90. We're going to be talking about things to look out for from an exterior view, interior, and also things to look out for with the engine, the notorious S65 of the E9X M3. I'll be talking about my experience in buying my E92, common problems with these cars, things to look out for, and how to choose your perfect E9X M3. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so you're interested in buying an E9X M3. Now, where do we get started? So first of all, you need to decide upon what body shape you want. So there are three options: the E90, which is the four-door saloon car, the E92, which is the two-door coupe with the carbon fiber roof, and then you've got the E93, which is the two-door convertible. Now, each have their advantages, but also their disadvantages. If you're looking to carry more people, the E90 is a great option. Four doors makes it really easy to get people in and out, but personally, in my opinion, the rear of them just looks off. The taillights are shorter and the whole rear of the car just kind of looks a bit off, but having those four doors really makes a difference. The E92 is the two-door coupe. Now this has the advantage of having the carbon fiber roof that one lowers the center of gravity but also looks pretty damn cool. It's a bit more of a pain in the ass if you're trying to get people in and out of the back, because you have to keep moving the seats forward, moving the seats backwards, but you get that aesthetic two-door sports car look. And you also have the E93, which is the two-door convertible. Now you have the benefit of getting the roof down when it's really nice, but also it adds lots of weight to the car. And in my opinion, the hardtop roof kind of looks a bit off when it's up. So now you've got an idea about which body type you want to choose. The next one is you need to look at how much you're willing to spend. So the E9X market is actually pretty broad in regards to price. You have cars that range from 14 grand all the way up to around £30,000. And the differences between them kind of come in age. 2007 was the first year the E9X M3 was produced. All the E90, E92, and the E93s were produced in that year. They then run all the way up until around 2013 when the last E9X cars were produced and we moved into the F80 versions of the M3 and the M4. So pricing kind of depends upon the age, the mileage and the quality of the car you're looking at. But in my advice is set your minimum and your maximum price you're willing to spend. So in my example, I had a minimum of around £14,000, which is kind of the bottom end of the E90 market. And then I also had a maximum of around £18,000. So I set my parameters on Auto Trader and piston heads around the type of body shape that I wanted and then the price, and had a look through. From this, I kind of had a good idea of the types of cars that were out there. I then started to understand about what color I wanted, what interior I wanted, and what I wanted the spec of my car to be. So I decided on a Alpine White EDC manual E92 M3. Now the transmission is kind of one of the biggest factors in regards to choosing what type of car you want. DCT kind of tend to hold their value a little bit more and be a bit more expensive, and the manuals are kind of on the cheaper side of the market because they're not as desirable as the DCT to the mass population. Now choosing a transmission is actually quite difficult and it has to be really specific to what you want. The DCT is more around kind of daily driving, but then having the ability to really drive the car hard. The dual clutch transmission is such a fantastic gearbox. I really enjoyed test driving them. However, the manual kind of appealed more to me. Now if you're interested in more about why I chose my E92 with a manual transmission, I recorded a video last week talking about my dream car, which is my E92. So click up there, go and check that out, and let me know what you think in the comments. So now you've chosen your transmission, you need to start thinking about color and interior. There are many different colors that come about: Silverstone Grey, Frozen Edition colors, Alpine White, etc. So have a good idea of what color you want and then start to look at the interiors that are available. Here's a picture of my interior. I really wanted to have that carbon strip across the dashboard because I really thought it set off the interior of the car. So now you've got kind of an idea of what type of E9X M3 you want to buy. The next step is to go and get in some. So what I'd recommend is the first car you go and see to be the cheapest one you can find that fits your specifications. Doesn't matter about whether you're interested in buying it or not, go and have a look at it, organize a viewing, because what this does is it allows you to have a base limit of what the bottom end of the market can provide you in regards to spending money on this car. You can see the quality of the interior, the quality of the outside, the wheels, and most importantly, test drive the car. Now, when you come away from this visit, you'll have the ability to understand what the bottom end of the market looks like, so that when you go and see some other cars, you can compare them against that bottom end to see whether the difference in price is justified by the quality that you can see from seeing that bottom end car. The next thing I recommend is go and getting the most expensive one you can find. Now, obviously that has to fit within your price bracket. So for me, 14 grand was my minimum and 18 grand was my maximum. So I went and got a couple £18,000 M3s just to kind of see that night and day difference between 14 grand and 18 grand and what that £4,000 could deliver me in regards to an upgrade in quality, but also how the car drives and test drives. I came away from both of those visits really understanding the differences between what the bottom end of the market looked like for my price bracket and in the top end. And you can really see the differences between them. Now, you can have a look on photos and you can try and do that, but looking at it with your own eyes and test driving the cars individually can give you such a great understanding of why they are the different price points they are. So the next thing that falls into price is mileage. Okay, now mileage is a bit of a touchy subject in regards to E90 M3s because some forum owners run 130,000 mile M3s and they drive absolutely fine. Some drive 20,000 miles and some have, kind of like my car, in the middle around 55,000 miles. Now, I wouldn't be put off by higher mileage M3s. Now, the reason for this is it's all about how the car has been driven, not how far the car has been driven. A car with 100,000 miles could have been warmed up correctly, driven properly, under 3,000 RPM until the car's at 90 to 100 degrees, and then driven properly and cooled down in the correct fashion as well. Now, a car with 40,000 miles obviously seems more attractive because you go, well, the car hasn't driven as far, there's less chance of things being worn out. However, what you don't know is that that car could have been started and ragged as hard as they possibly could from the minute they get in it to the minute they get out of it without any care in the world for a mechanical sympathy, engine warm-up, etc., any of those issues that come about. And in turn, doing so means that the car actually is in worse condition at 40,000 miles than a car that has 100,000 miles and has been warmed up correctly, etc. So don't be so fascinated about mileage. Go and get in some, test drive them and understand, but most importantly, speak to the people who own these cars. We are all enthusiasts that own E9X M3s. We care about our cars, so ask them some questions. It's more important about who you're buying the car from just as much as the quality of car that you're buying. Understand them as a person, as a driver, and see where they have just as much of an emotional connection with their car as you would do if you were to buy it. Because if they don't care about it and they aren't emotionally invested in the car, chances are that they've probably not looked after it in the way that you would want. So that's a really, really important point. So some of the things to look out for when buying an E9X M3 are the horror stories that you see. Oh no, rod bearings, throttle actuators, right? First of all, the rod bearings aren't that much of an issue. They're really, really hyped up to be this massive, massive thing. And do you know what? Some of it is actually true. If your rod bearings go within your car, they will break your engine. That is as simple as that. They will break your engine. However, it takes a lot for this to happen and is more around previous ownership of the car and less around how many miles the car has done. You'll have people on the forums that run 140,000 mile M3s with original bearings. And then you'll have people that have 30,000 mile cars that have had to put a new engine in the car because the Conrod bearings have gone. I wouldn't be so fascinated around buying a car that had the bearings done. And the reason for this is because it's about the previous ownership. I don't know how many times I have to say that now, but it's more about the previous ownership and how the car was treated as opposed to what work has been done. But the problem with rod bearings that you face is that I could have got my rod bearings done yesterday and then sold the car tomorrow. I could tell the guy that I've done my rod bearings yesterday. I could show him the receipt of goods. However, he doesn't know that I have treated the car correctly in that time frame. He doesn't know that I've warmed the car up. So he still has doubt in his mind. And I see this across all the Facebook pages all the time. People have bought the car with rod bearings done and still gone and got them done anyway. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. There's no problem in doing that. It is your money. You spend your money how you want to. But ultimately, looking for a car that's had them done already isn't a big thing. I would recommend getting them done yourself when you own the car. But it doesn't have to be an urgent thing. So with my E92, I bought it last April in 2019 and I got my rod bearings done in February 2020. So there wasn't a mass urgency to get it done. It was something that I was going to do, but make sure you set aside around £1,500 to get this work done and it will put you at peace of mind. And from that point onwards, you know that when you warm the car up correctly and treat the car properly, the rod bearings will not fail on you. Now, the other thing that's been thrown around are the throttle actuators. These are a common fault with these cars and it can range anywhere from around 30,000 miles to 60,000 miles for the first time that they'll go. So it's not a big thing to bear in mind when you're buying the car. All you need to do is make sure that you have set aside enough money so that you can do this work to the car after you've purchased it. The other thing that can kind of go wrong with these cars are the interiors. And if the interiors aren't looked after correctly, then you can have mild marring on the seats as well as peeling of the lacquer on the steering wheel. So here's some clips of my steering wheel, and you can see that actually there are some peeling on the left and right hand sides, and this is natural. This happens in lots of cars. Ultimately, some of the cars that I sat in when I looked to buy my E92 actually had worse conditioned steering wheels than this, and it's a really simple, easy fix, but just make sure that when you're looking at the interiors that it looks like it's been looked after correctly. So when you go and view these cars, it's really important to come prepared. So if I was you, I would buy a Carly OBD reader. Now these are around 30 to 40 pounds online, and you do have to buy a subscription. However, if you're actually genuinely serious about getting into one of these cars, it is a valuable asset to have in case any warning lights or any codes come up on the dashboard for you to actually get an understanding of what's gone wrong with the car. So turn the car on, plug in the OBD reader, and then you have the ability to link it to your phone and run a full scan. Now all owners should be okay with you doing this to the car. If the owner refuses for you to do an OBD reader check on their car, walk away. Simple as that, walk away. If they have nothing to hide, then that's a sign that they've looked after the car and they are confident that there is nothing wrong with it. If they tell you not to, then there is obviously something that's there that they don't want you to find out before you buy the car. So simply say thank you very much and walk away and go and view another car. The next thing I would recommend is get an AA inspection. And on a similar point to this, all owners should be okay with you having an inspection done on their car before you purchase, because no one should be looking to sell a car that they know there's anything wrong with. And if they refuse, walk away. The AA inspection will give you a full overview of the car. They'll give you recommendations on things that they think that need to be upgraded, things that are wearing out, and they'll give you a good overview before you purchase the car, and will give you an idea of how you can haggle on the price to make sure that you're getting the best value for the car if there is anything wrong with it. So one thing to bear in mind with the S65 is that it's a very sensitive engine and needs to be cared for correctly. Now this may sound stupid, but if you treat it right, it will treat you right back. If you abuse it and don't look after the engine, then things will go wrong. And let me tell you, if things break on this car, it does cost a lot of money. These cars are not cheap to run, and you need to be aware of that before you purchase. The other thing to be aware of when looking to buy an E9X M3 is that you need to be prepared to pay the price for running. From a fuel perspective, you can get anywhere from 12 miles to the gallon to 25 miles to the gallon, depending upon how far you're going, what speed you're going, and whether you're pushing it to the limit or not. Fuel tends to cost around £95 for a full tank of V-Power, and that will get you around 220 to 250 miles. Now, you can tell by that this car will cost you a lot of money on fuel. However, you will have a hell of a lot of fun running those 220 miles. You also need to be prepared to pay the price if it breaks. Now, I'm not saying that it will break consistently. However, the chances are that it will break in your ownership. Whether it's a fuel pump, a water pump, spark plugs, exhaust leak, anything can happen to these cars. But again, if you treat it correctly and you look after it right and you get it serviced and you do all the rod bearings and actuators and everything you need to, then in theory, only the small things will come up. So just be prepared that you will need to have some disposable cash on the side ready to fix this car if it does break. However, these cars are extremely reliable if you look after them correctly, so don't worry about that. There are lots of scare stories around these cars online. It's really important to be detailed when you're looking to buy one of these cars. When you're viewing the car, really ask the owner lots of questions to understand them as a person, how they've driven the car, how many previous owners has the car had. Look at the history of the car. Run an MOT check online. Go to gov.mot.uk and put in the registration. It will show you all the MOTs that have gone past, any problems that needed to be done, and you can check those with the owner before you go. And if you buy the correct one, ask the right questions, look for the right things, then you will be great. These cars are fantastic, they're a joy to drive, and it will look after you, but you need to do the same back to the car. So after you've thought about all of that, we go back to my previous point, which is around getting as many cars as you can from all of your price bracket. You started at the cheapest at 14,000, and then you went and saw the most expensive at 18,000 or whatever your top bracket is. Within there, you'll see a variance. Competition packs tend to be around 18,000 to 20,000 and above because they're 2011 and onwards. However, if you're looking to get into a cheaper car, 2007 to 2010 is kind of where your bracket will be. Getting as many cars as possible and test drive as many as possible. Make sure you're insured to go and drive the car. And if you're not insured, get the owner to take you out and look at what they do. Look at how they test drive the car. Do they warm it up correctly? Do they want to show it off? Because these are signs to show that they may have done this in the past. And as I've mentioned before, the engine needs to be warmed up correctly to ensure that oil is running through the engine and you don't get any rubbing on the Conrod bearings. So let's just kind of have a review of what we've spoken about today. Understand what body type you want. E90, E92, E93. Find out what your perfect spec is. Have a look through Instagram. If you want to check out my Instagram, I'll just put it here. It's at M3 Floor. Lots of pictures of my M3. Daily content on there. So go and check it out. Go and follow me. And there's also lots of other tags for E9X M3 owners on there for you to go and check out what their cars are like and get an understanding of things you'd like to do, more modifications, upgrades, anything you want to do on your car going forward. There's a great forum online, and especially on Facebook, so join the forum, post on there, ask questions, ask other E92 M3 owners to showcase to you things that they've learned in their experiences as well. Everyone's very willing to be communicative around their buying process and around how they looked at their E92 M3. Personally, for me, I posted on there and said, I'm looking to buy these types of cars. Does anyone know of any available? Also, do you have any suggestions or tips for me to look at in regards to things that I should be asking when I buy this car? Feel free to do that. Check out YouTube videos and go and get in as many cars as possible. There are lots of great examples of these cars out there on the market, and there are loads of fantastic cars, but there are the ones that are dressed up to look amazing, but actually underneath aren't. So just be wary of that. If you follow these steps, I'm sure you'll have a great experience in regards to buying an E9X M3. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks very much for watching. It really means a lot. If you could, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot. We've had over 135 new subscribers in the last 8 days, and that means the world to me. So please keep subscribing, like the video, and comment down below anything you think I've missed out from this video, because that may help others in the future. Thanks very much for watching. New videos out 6 p.m. every Sunday, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.